Wow, we got loud dolphins today. I want to say good morning to the Erskin Music Show. That's a little atypical for my introduction, but guess what? I am on tour. I'm headed to North Carolina, and there's some folks. You guys are going to see some pictures and some images from this trip. But I wanted to do a couple of episodes while I'm on the road here because I do not want you guys to miss a single episode of the Erskin Music Show. And so I'm here today, but I'm going to do something a little different than what I've normally done. This is kind of going to be a best of, well, maybe worst of. I maybe thought about titling this "The Dumb Shows That I've Done in the Past," but then I thought, maybe they weren't so dumb. But at any rate, we're going to be going over a couple of the shows, a couple of highlights from days gone, in which I was just, you know, taking a long time to say virtually nothing. So we're going to talk about the time that I took on Donald Trump. And then we're going to talk about the time that I took on Dave Ramsey. They're practically the same person. And so if you have your Bibles, we start with a devotion every day. And this is going to be from John chapter 4. John, hey, where's my, oh, here it is. All right. So Erskine Music Show. You guys drop some comments in the comment section here. I'm engineering this even as we speak here. It's yeah. Always always love to hear where you guys are tuning in from, where you guys are joining, and kind of what's going on in your world. So say hello. This is pre-recorded. And so if you're responding to me and you're like telling me your life story, hey, this just happened and everything, I'm super excited for you. I'll go back and read the comments later, and I'll probably have an opportunity to respond to you at that time. But since I'm not live right now, I'll go ahead and just say I'm super excited for you. God bless you. Love to see those comments that pop up, and we will continue here in just a few moments. Let me engineer this. We can get the Bible up here on the screen. Oh yeah, I'm broadcasting live from my fancy high-rise apartment in New York, and I've actually got a good background this time, and so it actually looks like the background is there's no bleed through on this one. And so let me do this real quick. Let me get this up here on the screen for you guys. Bible time. Dolphins. You guys ready? All right. So this is Jesus, and you guys know that I'm pretty fond of using Clarence Haynes Jr. He's a good buddy of mine. He's been on the show before, and just has some really solid stuff to say. I've been on his Bible study hour before, and yeah, I really enjoy his devotion and the way that he approaches Scripture. And so you'll get more at clarencehaynesjr.com. You can go to his devotional section, and you will find all of these devotions and more that I've been using, at least for the last couple of weeks. But in John chapter 4, he's talking about the issue where Jesus and the Samaritan woman meet. Unlikely meeting, unlikely place, and very unlikely conversation, and what ensues after it. And we focus here on verses 21, maybe through 26, where he says to her, I see that you are, she says in verse 19, I see that you're a prophet, and then begins to describe the place of worship. After that, in verse 20 and 21, Jesus told her, believe me, woman, an hour is coming when you will worship the Father neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. You Samaritans worship what you do not know. We worship what we do know, because salvation is from the Jews. And then he says these words, but an hour is coming and is here now when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. Yes, the Father wants such people to worship him. God is spirit, and those that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. And that is a classic exchange that brings us to the idea that God doesn't require just any kind of worship, just any kind of thing that we say, well, God would be pleased with this and God would be happy with this. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it. No, we actually have in Scripture what God says, I want this done in reference to myself and how it is that I want to be worshiped, and the difference between true worship and any other worship that is not true. And he goes on in verse 25, and he says, it says, the woman said to him, I know that you are the Messiah, or I know that the Messiah is coming, who is called Christ. When he comes, he will explain everything to us. And Jesus told her, I, the one speaking to you, am he. Now, we could talk all day about that, and we probably should. But Clarence Haynes Jr. in his devotion says these words, and I'm picking up on the second part of his devotion. So you'll want to go back and read the first part where he's actually breaking down these scriptures. But I want to give you a little bit of context before I read these words from Clarence Haynes Jr. He says this: maybe, or we live in a world that is driven by the next task, the next goal, the next accomplishment, the next thing that's on our list, the next good thing to accomplish, especially when God commands it. It's a task to replace the importance against things that are unimportant. Being a disciple of Christ means that sometimes we have to put down the to-do list and serve those in front of us. Maybe that means pausing your grocery shopping long enough to offer help to someone in a wheelchair, perhaps taking a meal and visiting a sick friend, picking up the phone and calling someone instead of sending a text. It could also mean listening to a preteen share their latest drama, even though there are 30 emails awaiting your response. At the end of the day, what matters is that we pour our lives into people. The bottom line is that people matter. They are the most important thing. And then he has a prayer that's after that. And so, really good form for the devotion, but it gives us this sort of centering thought. Jesus had a lot to do, was going a lot of different places, and stops to have this one extremely important conversation with this extremely, and you can follow the context of the story. I'm not saying that there's people who are unimportant, but the context of the story, an extremely important conversation with an extremely unimportant person about an extremely important topic. And so it does give us some pause as we get so busy in our day. So busy we can't even record the Erskin music show. Gives us pause to be able to say, well, let's dial in the scriptures. Let's dial in some time with the Lord. Let's dial in some time for others to be able to serve them and see that lesson in leadership. All right. Give you guys devotions every day. The Dolphins approve. And we're going to press on today. I don't know how this is going to go, but hopefully the sound is going to be okay for you guys. I'm going to do one sound bite of the time when I was talking about Black Lives Matter, Donald Trump, and just that whole melee that we were in our culture. And I'm going to do some reaction to this video here in just a few moments. But again, let me do this just because I don't know why this would count as copyrighted material since it is my material, but let's just go ahead and put this up there. All right. According to Section 107, Copyright Act of 1976, use of material here is under the guise of fair use, criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by Copyright Statute 107. All right. So fireworks. All right, here's what I feel like is a funny exchange. And hopefully the sound will be okay for you guys. But I'll take a couple of minutes here and then I'll react to some of the things that are up here and just see where we're at. It's because this is kind of cool. You kind of go back through a time warp and it's like, I remember when I said that earlier on the show. Where are we now? So that's kind of the effect that we're going for. But this is the time when I said this on the Erskin Music Show about Black Lives Matter, social upheaval, all the things that were going on. Remember this. And our corporate participation in worship, our corporate participation in encouragement also encourages us to continue to keep going. No, I had a button for this. I was finishing up the devotion. Yep. So I want to just kind of freestyle just a little bit on Psalm 124. Obviously, the psalmist there, Van Dudenwoord, Van Dudenwoord, Van Dudenwoord, Van Dudenwoord. Say that 10 times fast. That will dramatically increase your day, and you will have a better day. I just want to say, Pastor Van Dudenwoord, I hope I'm saying it correctly because my name always gets messed up, so I'm kind of sensitive to that. But the more and more I say Van Dudenwoord, Van Dudenwoord, Van Dudenwoord, the better day that I'm having. And so let's practice that, folks. Let's practice that. I think you should try it. If you're discouraged, if you're disheartened, say Van Dudenwoord 10 times straight, really fast, and you will have a better day. But all kidding aside, all joking aside, I wanted to make mention of the fact that, you know, this is going to lead to something we're going to talk about a little bit later on the show. We have just an unprecedented situation that we find ourselves in with social, racial upheaval, a lot of the restructuring of society, the president, vice president, a lot of our governmental leaders are advocating for a direction for our country to go that a lot of Christians feel is very uncomfortable. It's unsafe. It's different. It's a challenge. It's going to be different. It's going to be a challenge. It's in some cases perhaps may lead to some persecution. If that, and so essentially talking about the current president that we have now would be Joseph Robinette Biden and Kamala Harris and some of the things that they were saying at the time. And so just, yeah, kind of talking about some of those things. That's scaring you this morning, then I'm sorry. Don't be scared. That's in fact what Psalm 124 is reminding them, the Lord and his help and his strength. And so I think we need to remind ourselves of these kind of verses and these kind of times when God's people rally together, could hear the voice of the Lord and move in some measure of confidence. Don't be scared this morning is what I want to tell everybody out there. There's going to be a lot that changes. I'm actually quite optimistic about some of those changes. We're going to get into that article in just a second. I'm not going to do the topics of the day, but I wanted to just remind article. People that we can rest in the Lord, that he is who he says he is. He's going to do what he says he's going to do. And when we see saber rattling, and we see armies, when we see philosophies that begin to amass themselves, that shouldn't, it should concern us, but it shouldn't surprise us. It should make us vigilant in prayer. Hang on one second. What are you working on right now? Typing a paper? Fantastic. Anyway, we are parenting, touring, and doing the Erskin Music Show all at the same time. But it shouldn't make us angry. It should make us more aware and more passionate for the contention of souls in our country. All right. So that is essentially what it was that I was wanting to say, and managed to figure out how to get an hour out of that broadcast to say that. But there was an article that I read, and you can go back and you can look at that show. I don't know the article was super significant, but it did give sort of a response to a lot of the things that were going on in the culture at the time. And my whole purpose on this show, on that show, on every show is to come back and to say, wow, we have the truth. We have hope in Christ. We have life. We have no reason for us to be shaken at our foundations. When things change around us or when things swirl around us, no big deal. There's social upheaval that's taking place, changing certain things. The wokeism of our day and our generation, there was a lot of people, and if I can remember back to that time, they were actually pretty fearful about what was going on in the culture and the society. And I just want to say, let's tap the brakes. This is creating for us an opportunity. Now I can jettison, was that like a year, 2 years ago or so? You can jettison into today and say that for those that viewed that as an opportunity to advance the gospel and to move forward and to cross some of those bridges, it has indeed been that. For those that saw that as a dividing line to say, okay, we're going to segment that group over there and we're going to, now they're sacrosanct, we can't work with them anymore. That was probably a difficult thing for them. But for those that said, hey, this is a good bridge for us to be able to, I remember reading, I don't know if you guys have read this book, White Fragility, and getting into a lot of discussion groups and people who were reading those. Robin DeAngelis. We talked about it a lot on the Way Forward show, Jason and I, but getting into some of those discussion groups and actually getting a touch point for hearing what people were saying and how they were arriving at the conclusions that they were arriving at was absolutely incredible, because I got to be, in some ways, a guy that's inserted in the middle of a conversation that had been going on before me and will go on after me. But here's my moment in time to be able to speak and address some of the issues there and some of the misconceptions that were there and some of the ways that, you know, the whole conversation has been turned up on its head. And so I feel like that was a good time to just connect with people who are not at all politically, spiritually, lifestyle wise like myself, and to be able to say, here is a Christian standing in the middle of all this and saying Jesus has all of this under control. Jesus calls us to identify ourselves in him, and then everything else flows from that. And so it was really a great opportunity there. Couple more moments here. Your comments. How have you seen things change? What was your response? What was the response then? How have you responded to the opportunities that were there? You can drop those in the comment section. A couple more moments, and then we'll get to some Erskine music, and then we'll get back and do one other soundbite about Dave Ramsey in our world. But it shouldn't make us violent. Obviously, these are truths that we need to remind ourselves. Good morning, Chester. Hope you're doing well. And yes, I'm going to catch up with the TC Stallings thing here very quickly. But yeah, I just want to make mention of that today to just calm any nerves that might be out there. There's always a new article out there about how the demise of Western Christianity is upon us, whether it be the churches in decline or whether it be the philosophies of man. So I'm going to get to that next week. I will be back from this tour, and we'll be back in the home studios in Nashville, Tennessee. I'll have to leave my high-rise apartment, but I'll be back in the home studios in Nashville, Tennessee, and I want to begin to kind of unpack some of the things that I'm learning about, reading about. Just finished Torba's book on Christian nationalism. I'm going to unpack some of those things, and I think it'll be fascinating. I'm wanting to make sure that I have my research. What's funny about live stream stuff is that you can just live stream from anywhere. And I mean, just go live, just start talking about stuff, just react to a video or react to something that's out there. And on the Erskin Music Show, we do a little bit more research than just reacting to something. It'll be reacting to something someone said and putting a little bit of research in there. And so we're going to get some quotes directly from Andrew Torba in his New York Times bestselling book on Christian nationalism. I finished reading that, making my own notes on that, and just preparing for that. So you'll definitely want to tune in. Let's see, next week. Next week we have one show. It'll be a Thanksgiving show. So it'll probably be right after the Thanksgiving show, and then right before we start doing some of our Christmas end of the year type things. So you will not want to miss that portion of the Erskin Music Show. All right, I'm going to stop the soundbite because it was great to see me wearing that jacket back in the day. And so let's get to some Erskin music today. How about the song? Ooh, that's a good song. How about that's a good song. How about the song Look Up? That's the song we need for today.
When I think I know you, it's funny how I run to a make-believe, even preconceived perception. Oh no, I guess I'm running too fast for things that really won't last. It's an interview with a finding you getting lost while holding a map to give sight to the blind. Up my eyes, now I see it's a mystery. You are all I need. I'm not wise enough to know everything that you've done, but this I know, this I know. You are king of everything, all my hopes and every dream. So I can follow, yeah. It's better that I don't know how you make the stars glow, or how the universe is compared to you like a grain of sand in your hand. It's time to make some changes, open up the spaces. I want the world to see what you did in me, gave me joy that'll never leave. You gave sight to the blind, open up my eyes. Now I see it's a mystery. You are all I need. I'm not wise enough to know everything that you've done, but this I know, this I know.
dead off the screen. Man, that's great. We are actually currently in the studio right now, and we'll give some more details about the song that we're working on. It's called Giver of Life. There should be some updates probably right after Thanksgiving on that song and some ways that you guys can participate in that project because I think that's going to be. There's Black and White, which that's kind of iconic in its own sense, in a thing all of its own. Probably my most popular song would be "Is He Worth It?" Persecuted Church. That's iconic, not in the sense that I produced it, but it transcends Erskine music. You know, Erskine music could be brave, it could be just dance, it could be a lot of different things that are out there, but Black and White transcends. It's like that's that's a world song that the Lord gave, that I'm blessed to be able to sing, but that's its own thing. So is He Worth It? And I believe so too will this song be Giver of Life. It will transcend everything that is Erskine music and just it's will teleport that. But I'll talk more about that a little bit later. So that was a song called Look Up. Great song. I remember being in the studio recording that in the same studio that I just finished recording Giver of Life. And so always sparks remembrance there. All right, what I want to do here is share some comments about Dave Ramsey. Where you at, Dave? Don't hide. Well, if Dave is watching this, Dave will be like, "Hey, can I buy you another jacket here?" I know. I know. I know. Not my best look ever. But, we did what we could when we could. Here's me. Oh
Game
boy.
here. And I ain't mad at you. I ain't mad at you, bro, on this one. He says, I don't believe in a stimulus check. That's
All right. So context wise, stimulus checks are being passed out. Dave Ramsey is doing his Dave Ramsey thing, and he's going and he's talking about stimulus checks. And I'm pretty sure if such was the case now, such would be the comments. And he was kind of doing his little shtick, and I don't mind that so much. Like, and I'll talk about that. But here's me responding to him, responding to folks who get a stimulus check and their situation in life.
that's the soundbite. That's the quote. You know what? I bet you he probably practiced that for at least 30 minutes. I don't believe in a stimulus check because he knew the question was coming to him. I don't believe in a stimulus check. This is what Dave Ramsey says. I don't believe in a stimulus check because if $600 or $1,400 changes your life, you were pretty much screwed already, told Fox News. You have a career problem, you have a debt problem, you have a relationship problem, you have a mental health problem. Something else is going on if $600 changes your life, as Ramsey continued to go on in that soundbite.
Okay. There was a time when Dave Ramsey said that. And I don't think, where's my apologize for nothing button? Here's Dave Ramsey's response to that. As far as I know, he apologizes for nothing in reference to that. And so here's where he's right. And then I go in a little bit afterward, and we can watch a little bit of that response there. Here's where he's wrong. But where he's right is $600 does not put you in position to buy a house. $600 does not put you in position to have adequate, reliable transportation in the form of a car. $600, $1,400 may get your rent paid this month, and then you're back in the cycle of poverty or the cycle of bad decisions. Or to a certain extent, he's middle class right about that, but not in the overall grand scheme of things for people who are making decisions to try to get to other decisions. It's almost as though Dave Ramsey doesn't see that there are necessary, well, I'm not going to say that about Dave Ramsey. Of course he understands that there's necessary first steps. Just follow the Dave Ramsey method and you'll figure out what those things are. But some of these necessary first steps, some of the necessary, there's a phrase that's used during March Madness called survive in advance. It doesn't matter if you win ugly as long as you win. And there's a lot of, and I'm not sure if Dave Ramsey is familiar with like how this works. I know you can look at the demographics and say there's a lot of people who live from paycheck to paycheck, and you get a chance to see their lives, kind of teetering on the prospect of disaster. Most Americans, most people in the middle class are kind of at that threshold, teetering between disaster and not. And then when those disasters come, being able to survive those disasters, move forward, is something that shows some measure of resilience that I don't think Dave Ramsey always takes into account. You got a financial problem, debt problem, mental problem. He's added all these different things on there, but there's a certain sense in which, and here's the issue that I take with Dave Ramsey at times, he doesn't recognize the resiliency that it takes to even survive in those situations so that you can eventually get to a different place. Some of his saving schemes, I mean, they're okay, but I would take issue with those things in the sense that I don't know the retirement model that he has. I have a hard time finding the retirement model that he prescribes in his teachings in Scripture. I know it's pragmatic. I know that it could be a wisdom issue. I know that it could be a cultural issue, and I'm willing to give him that. But you're pretty much, according to Dave Ramsey on most episodes, stupid if you don't do what it is that he's telling you to do. I don't think that the word is stupid. I think the word actually starts with an R, and that word is resilient, because sometimes you can't do what it is that he's telling you to do. Sometimes that stimulus check can be put uh, in operation in your life so that you survive. Maybe it would have been a major pitfall in your life. You survive that, and you're able to advance and be resilient in the things that you are doing that are making a difference in people's lives. Man, I just think that there's so many people that I would love to introduce Dave Ramsey to, who are single parent, who are grandparents, who are not part of this retirement cycle. They've not saved up different things, but they're taking care of their kids because of decisions that have been made, or a culture that they're in, or there's different things through no fault of their own, perhaps. They're stepping into a situation and trying to do the best that they possibly can. Man, families that are deeply impoverished, that have a cycle of things around them, that $600 is going to make a difference, and it can make a difference. And on later episodes, probably in December, I'm going to get my wife on here, and we're going to talk about some of the ways that that particular stimulus check that he's talking about has made a difference in many people's lives. It helped my wife to begin to start thinking through and establishing a business. So, Dave Ramsey, you'll definitely want to check in that episode where I take on Dave Ramsey. We go toe to toe. All right, I'm going to say a little bit more about that. Let's play a little bit more of this soundbite, and then we got to get out of here.
That soundbite was borderline brilliant, but borderline idiotic.
Idiotic.
Let me tell you why. I got to split the difference on the two of these things. Here's a little education for you guys today. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. People who do talk shows like this, they don't just shoot from the hip and shoot from the lip. If you're doing a live stream show, and I've had artists that have come and asked me, hey, how can I do a live stream show? I'll tell you how to do a live stream show. You get your rear end up. If you're going to do a 9 o'clock show, you get your rear end up at 5 o'clock in the morning. You start preparing. You start studying. You start getting in the notes. You start getting in comments. You start getting with the Lord. Spend time in your word so that by 9 o'clock, you might actually have something of value to say. Don't just get on a live stream and just start talking about whatever. That's stupid. So I've been up since 5 o'clock in the morning, but I've been preparing this show since yesterday. Since the
I apologize for nothing.
Researching and talking about it. Anyway, guys that go on Fox News, people that are in public eye, Donald Trump, Dave Ramsey, it doesn't matter who it is. They're not idiots. They're not idiots. They actually prepare. All of those statements that would inflame the country, if you pay attention to when Donald Trump would make those statements, it was generally when his policies were under fire, or when he had done something that was in the public eye that he needed to get away from.
Ooh.
He would go and make some stupid red herring
Check the stats
over here. And now everybody rushes over there like a fire and begins to focus on that comment and not the policy. And he was able to skirt through so many different things. You watch it in leadership all the time. They throw the red herring out and it's like, oh, look over there. It's like the Princess Bride. What? Is that a giant? Okay. You go, oh. So,
you even got a Princess Bride reference. You know this episode was good.
He knew. I'd be willing. In fact, Dave Ramsey, come up on this show and tell me that I'm wrong about what I just said. I would imagine before Dave Ramsey,
bro, he ain't coming on your show.
He knew that he was
but
going
he
to
might
say, I don't believe in a stimulus check. If $600 or $1,400 changes your life, you're screwed already. That soundbite that's been picked up by so many people, he didn't just come up with that at a whim. Now, I mean, like myself, like we can work on the fly, but that comment didn't come off the fly. And I'm willing, come on this show and tell me that comment just came out of your mind. It did not. You have a career problem, a debt problem, you have a relationship problem, you have a mental health problem, something else is going on with $600 changes your life. I should probably slow down and wait for some comments now.
No, don't wait for comments. Just ball out.
He knew he was going to say it. This popularizes his brand. It boosts his image. It's kind of the wow factor that every millionaire does. But here's the deal. I keep coming back to this word respect. RESPECT. Dave Ramsey, I'm gonna come on my show, or I'll go on your show and tell you why I don't really respect that comment and why I think that was a little bit. Yeah, you kind of got people for a little bit on that, but you didn't get me.
Oh, shoot. Rewind the tape on that one. He said, "You got people, but you didn't get me." They didn't believe in me, but God did.
Popularizes his brand. It boosts his image. It's kind of the wow factor that every millionaire does. But here's the deal. I keep coming back to this word respect. RESPECT. Dave Ramsey, I'm gonna come on my show, or I'll go on your show and tell you why I don't really respect that comment and why I think that was a little bit. Yeah, you kind of got people for a little bit on that, but you didn't get me.
But you didn't get me.
The Erskin Music Show.
Okay, all right. We're gonna have to shut this thing down at some point. We can't just be doing best of episodes all the time. You got other people, but you didn't get me. But if you wanted to get me something, you could get me a different jacket. But anyway, I digress. Erskin Music Show, some of the best of episodes, some of the best of conversations. And these are the same types of things that, look, we're going to do this. These are the types of things that end up on the podcast, guys. If you're not on the podcast, you guys definitely got to check that out. Erskin Music Podcast is available now. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and or Twitter, and or LinkedIn, please keep that energy. Subscribe to the show. Hit the bell notifications. Maybe I'll put an icon up to show you guys how to do that. We're growing the show. We're loving growing the show and loving that you guys are participating in the show and so much a part of what's going on with this whole Erskin Music empire. But Dave Ramsey, you have been invited to the show. Anytime you want to come on the show, we will have a fantastic conversation. I listen from time to time to your show, and it's very good. And you've helped so many people. But I think you could help more people. Anyway, maybe that's what I'm supposed to do in this world. And also the comments about social upheaval, racism in America, all those different things. Hey, you see the melon in here? I'm going to be talking about that on my show and giving, hopefully, what is a biblical response to social upheaval in our culture. I'm not always excited about the way that Christians have dealt with this issue. And I make that known on this show. So it is the Erskin Music Show. Gospel Choir. What y'all been kind of quiet today. Well, y'all been quiet because I hadn't been able to find that button.
Hallelujah! 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 Hallelujah!
All right. We out of here. It's the Erskin Music Show. Best of episodes. I'll probably do a couple of these this week, and so you'll want to check in. Drop some comments in the comment section. It helps the algorithm let people know that people actually care what's going on here. And I look forward to seeing you soon. God bless. Erskin Music Show.